Now it's time for a place to go to school.
Yeah.
Lord and behold, what was your recruiting process like, and what would make Texas the decision? So 20. This is I can't tell you guys how excited I am about this episode. As you know, a Longhorn fanatic, not a fan, a fanatic. I read somewhere that like you said, 6 a.m. workers before the boys. I read that you also growing up, you played with the boys team a little bit.
Yes.
And how was that like? What age was that when you was doing that?
That was before I even ever played on the girls' team. I was practicing with my brother, and his team was my dad. My dad coached my brother and I.
Yeah.
It's not, I couldn't handle the boys anymore. They just couldn't handle, my toughness. So I had to lay
Say
them
that
off.
again.
I had to go back to the girls. But
Where are you currently now?
currently, I'm in Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm taking a break from basketball, and I'm coaching with my dad in Lawton for the girls.
Get it twisted, it's a movie. We pop out your ass in trouble. Yeah, and when you take a pic, I like the way you pose it special.
Welcome back to Fast Break Focus, episode 20. This is I can't tell you guys how excited I am about this episode. As you know, a Longhorn fanatic, not a fan, a fanatic. This is a big milestone for us. What better way to celebrate? We're welcoming our first ever Texas Longhorn, former Longhorn, onto the podcast. Hook 'em horns. Today we got none other than Audrey Warren, a fan favorite, known for her grit, leadership, and her fearless energy that she brought to the 40 acres from battling through the Big 12 to making her mark as one of the toughest defenders and most passionate players to ever wear the burnt orange. Audrey's story embodies what Texas basketball is all about: the heart, the hustle, the grind, the grit. And without further ado, welcome Audrey Warren to Fast Break Focus.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm good.
And I will say this for there's a couple people out there that know me from the podcast and stuff like that. I was actually at one of your last games, the second to last game in the Frank Irwin Center. I was there. I seen you. I seen us beat up on TCU. I was there for it.
Thank goodness. Good.
So this is somebody I can honestly say I watched up closely, and I actually saw you guys out eating after the game at I cannot think of the name of the restaurant, but you guys, I just seen the way you guys were communicating with the fans. You guys were having a good time, and I'm just excited, y'all. I'm sorry, I'm very excited. And first, I'd like to get to Audrey. Is tell me what got you into basketball.
My family. That's really to get right to the point. We are a sports family. Whether you are playing sports or watching sports, a fan of any kind of sport, we were kind of integrated and grew up on sports. My dad played football. My mom played soccer when she was young, and one of my uncles played football and went to the NFL. Um, all my cousins and siblings grew up playing something, doing something. So that's really how I got into it. I got into specifically basketball because it was the first sport I honestly tried, and I fell in love with it so quickly that I didn't really care to give another one a try. So that's how I fell into that.
I read that your dad said that in sixth grade you had to do something.
Yes. Yeah. By the time you get to middle school, he didn't care what it was. Whether it was, debate team speech, choir, it was you needed to find a passion, find something to do. You can't just school wasn't it. School was something you had to do, but anything outside of that, you needed to find who you wanted to be and what you wanted to do.
Right. When was the first time you realized that I actually am pretty good at this game of basketball?
I actually just had this conversation with my dad the other day to know when he realized it. And I guess that's kind of when I realized it too. When I was in, I think, sixth or seventh grade, or sixth grade, I broke my left wrist playing outside with my siblings. And I wanted to play so badly that I was okay with, not going to get it checked out. Like I begged not to go get it checked because I didn't want to get in the cast and not be able to play basketball. So we ended up just like wrapping my arm in pre-wrap and tape, I was fine for it. It was my left wrist. So, it wasn't too important for me to use
Right.
anyways. At that time, it was bad anyways. Um, And so, yeah, I played a whole tournament with a broken wrist because I wanted to play so badly. And that was kind of the kickstart to my never ending workouts after
Right,
that.
I see. Oh, golly,
Yeah.
they tore your wrist and still wanted to play out there. Now,
Mhm.
you said you was outside with your siblings. I read that you are one of six.
Yes, I have
And what
two
what
older.
order are you in?
Yeah, I'm the third. So I have two older sisters, and then there's me, and then a younger sister and two younger brothers.
Yeah, I can see where that grit and grind came from.
Yeah.
I can see where that grit and
A
grind.
lot of kickball games, a lot of football games, a lot of Red Rover, always.
Can you describe that relationship with your siblings and how they shaped who you are as a basketball player?
Oh my gosh. I mean, they're pretty much, they're everything. I dedicate everything to them. If it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't have played for so long. My younger brother and I played together for some time. My older sister and I played maybe a couple games together, but it wasn't really her thing. So, but there wasn't a morning where one of my sisters wouldn't offer to rebound for me. My youngest brother's 11, and so he's learning to play basketball, and I'm getting to teach him and coach him and like help with that. So that's just been amazing. My brother and I, we go back and used to go back and forth about who's the better one. I'm obviously the better one, but he'll forever go down as a better shooter than I will. But
Right.
so, and my oldest sister, she would come and support. She was there for all my, as many college games as she could be at. It was, if it weren't for them, I would not have gotten through college basketball, to say the least, let alone high school or middle school or anything.
Right. So you transitioned into high school your freshman year. You had a really, really good freshman season. What do you remember most about your first time actually playing? This is some really big basketball right here.
In high school,
Yes.
oh gosh, I mean, my freshman year, I went to a super small Catholic school,
Hmm.
so I think we only had like 8 players on our team. So then that's kind of when I realized, like, okay, I gotta do some stuff. I gotta make some stuff work. I gotta
Hmm.
help. I gotta get in where I fit in and not carry, but do what I can to make sure we win. And so I would say that for whoever we played first, my freshman year, that was like the biggest performance of my life. I was like, this is the time you show whether like that
Right.
worked or it worked you. So whatever that first game was, I'm sure I was so nervous. I'm sure I was crying at the end of it. I'm sure it wasn't
Hmm.
good enough, but I'm also sure we got the win though.
Right. And so then you get to go do really good things your freshman year, some awards
Mhm.
that won there. Then you end up finally you transfer to a new
Mhm.
school and then you
Yeah.
you get that coveted state championship in the state of
Yeah.
Missouri. What was that like?
It was unbelievable. I mean, I remember always saying, I'd won a state championship. I don't think when I said that, I didn't realize the caliber of what it was or the caliber of the work it took to get there and what it really meant. But I mean, that year was so much fun. I mean, I don't think we only lost maybe a handful of games, if
Mhm.
that. It was such a journey. I had my childhood best friend by my side the whole time. And, um, it got to be, it was in Columbia, so it wasn't that far from my family. My whole family came. It was amazing. And then when that buzzer went off, and you realize like I'm a state champion, and you don't realize until afterwards like how big that is, and it was
Right.
just so fun celebrating that and being a part of that. Because our assistant coach, she had won I think 4 straight at that time,
Oof.
so getting to be a part of her club was cool.
Right. And so then you after your state championship, you end up then transferring down to
Hmm.
Texas, Fort Worth. What was that? What was the biggest adjustment for you moving? Not just basketball. What was the biggest adjustment moving to Fort Worth?
Um, I would love to say it was, adjusting to meeting new friends and new people, but because I had already transferred even from elementary school and middle schools all the way through high school pretty much, I was pretty much used to that, and I was used to, having my siblings with me anyways. So I wasn't too big on like trying to make new friends because I always have them. So I guess the biggest adjustment would be being away from my mom, because it was just our dad and then his wife and her daughter, and so we all moved together. And my mom stayed back in Springfield with her parents and her family, And so that was really tough, not seeing her at every game and not
Hmm.
getting just, call her and have her come over to the house or us go over
Right.
there. But made it work, and it was well worth it. We got to see her all the time. She came and made trips, but that was probably the biggest adjustment.
How far was the drive for it?
Oh, just 8 hours.
Oh, just eight
Just
hours.
really quick. Just quick on the highway, 8 hours. Not
That's just
really.
right down the road.
Yeah, at the time to me that wasn't a lot. She made the trip, no biggie, made us, no big deal about it. Now I see that 8 hours is a long trip.
Yeah.
So,
And shout out to mom to be able
yeah,
to drive down 8 hours and just to see my baby play, see a smile on her
no,
face, and look up, see in the crowd. That's what definition of a real one we call them on here on the
yeah,
Fast Break Focus.
absolutely.
So, you end up winning Player of the Year two times. Am I right? Your junior,
Yeah.
senior year. And then so like you speak on that time of just balling, not getting it done as far as state championship goes, because Texas is a whole different
Right.
beast when it comes to
Right.
high school sports.
Right.
But just being player of the year in your conference, what does that mean to you?
Again, it was one of those things where at the time I was aiming for it. Like it was a goal of mine, a personal goal, and a goal between me and my dad and our coach. Um, but again, I didn't understand the caliber to do that. But I knew that those, 6 a.m. workouts before the guys came to practice on the court, and then staying after at least an hour to 2 hours with my dad after our practice, like that's what got me there. And
Hmm.
so when I was awarded, player of the year, it felt earned. Like it didn't feel something that I was just given because everybody thought I was so good. Like I knew I earned this. I worked for this. This is what I worked for. And this award is only, it's just a little piece of the puzzle of who I want to be with basketball. So it
Right.
was really, but it was good. It was validating for sure.
Both times, huh?
Yeah.
So, just to round off, but I want to stay in just in high school, just for a
Mm-hmm.
second. Um, you spoke. I read somewhere that you like you said 6 a.m. workouts before the boys. I read that you also growing up, you played with the boys team a little bit.
Yes,
And
I
how
did.
was that like? What age was that when you was doing that?
That was before I even ever played on a girls team. I was practicing with my brother and his team with my dad. My dad
Mhm.
coached my brother. And so I was around that. And then I would say that was probably between fourth all the way up to seventh grade. I think that's really when the levels started to separate. And it's
Yeah,
not, I couldn't handle the boys anymore. They just couldn't handle, my toughness. So I had to lay
say
them
that
off.
again.
I had to go back to the girls, but it was for a couple years. But I thank those boys that I grew up with, and them treating me like just any other athlete and not some, prissy little girl on the court. Like they never took it easy on me. And I still hear from them now, and they always congratulate me and say I made it. But I never think I get a chance to thank them. So if it weren't for those boys and their toughness and their want to be better, I wouldn't have wanted that for myself.
That grit and grind. Well, I tell you,
Yeah,
throughout this, it is
a good
everywhere in your life.
competition.
The grit and grind is
Yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere.
So you graduate. Now it's time for a place to go to school.
Yeah.
Lord and behold, what was your
Yeah.
recruiting process like, and what would make Texas the
Yeah.
decision?
Oh, it was so stressful. It was stressful for me, and looking back, it was stressful for my dad because I can say now that I am out of the process and looking back on my time, I did not take it as seriously as I should have. Um, but he had my back through it all, so he made sure I kept a straight head. I'm not a big on the phone talker, so that was like the biggest problem I had throughout the recruiting process was talking on the phone to coaches. I had a hard time with that, but as time went on and as more conversations I had, it got a little easier. Um, the move to Texas was, when the home visit started, and I'd go to schools and camps and really get to meet the coaches and the players. And when I went to the Texas camp, I loved their vibe. The coaches were just so into their players, the passion for them. The girls were so passionate for each other. They were always happy and always, just
I
with
mean, look
each
where they're
other,
playing at. Why
taking
wouldn't they
like,
be?
like it's it was just so family oriented, and that is the biggest thing in my life is family. So I wanted to go somewhere that had that same vibe and had that same culture, and ultimately Texas was it.
Hmm.
Texas also is able to play on Longhorn Network, so that was big for my family that didn't live in Texas. That was a huge plus. So
Come on now, speak
and
on
then,
it.
yeah, um, and then my dad and stepmom and most all my siblings that were still in high school only lived a couple hours away, so they got to come to home games and they were able to come visit me. So I went somewhere that I loved and enjoyed, and that my family could also come love and enjoy it with me. And Texas
Boy,
was
did we
home for
enjoy you.
4 years.
Hey, I'm gonna speak for the fans. Boy, did we enjoy you.
Yes.
Now, because you're Longhorn, is there any school out there that would have that almost got you instead of Texas?
I guess the when I was growing up, Tennessee was my dream school. I wanted to go to Tennessee so badly until I got to about high school, and that's when I kind of started changing my route on where I wanted to go and maybe where I wanted to be. But the only other, I can say that the only other school would probably have been Florida. I really enjoyed Florida and how they looked and their staff. So I thought about being a Gator for a second. Yeah,
I'm so
but
glad you didn't. I'm just so glad you didn't. So so you're now on 40 acres.
mhm,
You played well throughout your freshman year, some injuries and stuff like that. Sophomore year, more
awesome.
playing time, injuries, stuff like that. Back up. You was Big 12 freshman of the week twice your freshman year. Let's start there. What is that like? Because that doesn't happen often. The freshmen coming in and getting some good playing time.
Yeah, that was a high for me. I was living on cloud nine those couple weeks at practice, any on camp. I was so happy. Um, I think it came from the tournament that we played around Thanksgiving
Hmm.
in Florida, and we ended up winning. One of our key players got hurt, and I had to step in. They had me start, at halftime. So nervous. I'm like, I don't even remember if I played the first half, but that second half came, and I'm heart's beating. I don't want to mess this up for us. I'm just a freshman. Like, this is so scary. And I remember one of the games I hit, one of the game winning shot to win us the game, and the game ended. And I had an interview after the off the court afterwards, and I kind of expected that high to be over when we got back. I expected her to be okay, and like I would go back to my freshman minutes. But now I had felt the court. I'd had the vibe. I got to be with the girls. The coach could see me. Um, but so she didn't get to play the rest of that season, so I got to step up again. And that was, I just realized my hard work is paying off. I was doing the little things. I didn't care what my role was. I didn't come in there to replace her 20 to 30 points a game. I came in
Hmm.
there to play whatever I needed to do to help my team get the win. And so, those couple weeks were just amazing. I loved it. It was hard work, but it was worth it.
And someone who actually was watching back then,
Mhm.
I remember you coming in. Now, I don't want you to go and check Twitter because I was very upset. Okay. I was long, but you can go back and check timeline. I was actually happy afterwards. I was very happy afterwards when seeing somebody go down and then seeing a freshman come in. It's like, oh my gosh, man, what are we
Yeah.
about to do? Like you said, you hit a big three. I remember. I'm gonna find that clip. I'm gonna put it up here. Um, Sophomore year, you rolls around. You're
Mhm.
playing more big minutes. You're getting a lot more on the court. What is that? What is that? What's the confidence growing for you?
Yeah, it again came from we had some injuries throughout the year. That year, people had to switch spots, play different roles. So I'm coach and I had a conversation. I told her I can play your four. I can. I'm small, but I'm mighty. And she knew that. She gave me that nickname, Junkyard Dog, and that's what I became. And so I believe that as long as I'm playing a role, I'm doing what I need. I'll play the minutes that I need to play. Um, So yeah, I just fit. I told her I'll be what you need me to be, and that's what I became. I played a lot of minutes at the four. That continued throughout my career at Texas, but I felt good there. I was a mismatch But
Mm-hmm.
you didn't look at me and think little because I was a little smaller than the other fours out there because you knew what you were getting when you had me.
Right.
So yeah,
You really adjusted your game a lot to
yeah.
play that role. And what speak about just because a lot of people out there that have a hard time adjusting to that role. What would you say
Mhm.
to those people that have a hard time adjusting to a new role to stay on the court?
Don't look. I would say don't look at it as a negative or that you're doing what you feel or that you're doing anything wrong. It's not you're not out there playing 1-on-5. You might have to adjust your role to again help your team. That's what it's a team sport. And I just think everybody needs to keep that at the top of their head. Like this is about the team winning. This is not about me. So if you're a 3-point shooter, but they're asking you to drive a little more, don't look at it as because your 3-point shot's bad. They're adjusting. Adjust. It's that's what basketball is. It's all about adjusting. You adjust every practice. You adjust every game. You have to adjust yourself now because people are going to know who you are, and you're going to have to find different counters and stuff. And it's no different than when a coach asks you to play a different role. So.
Right. And you played that role amazingly. That grit and grind that we talked about, and unfortunately led to some injuries, some very hustle injuries at that. And some are freak accidents, but there was a lot of hustle. And can you speak on just the injuries and battling back from those injuries each time?
Yeah. So I mean, I would agree. There are a lot of them were hustle, and a lot of them were just me putting myself in situations that I probably didn't need to be in a lot of the time. But again, I only saw those plays. I really never looked at the bigger picture. Like I looked at it as we need this ball now, so I'm going to dive on the floor now, whether this causes me an injury or not, because I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. I was looking at the now,
Hmm.
and that hindered me quite a bit. But I won't take back any of it. I'll to this day stand in front of a freight train. I won't back down. Like I'll take my
Charge.
charge, and I'll still dive on the floor. I'll still guard the biggest player. Like I'm not. It hasn't changed because of the injuries that came. I'm just now smarter about it. I
Hmm.
learned from those injuries. Um, but looking back now, I wish I would have kept myself more healthy, but while still doing the things that I wanted to do. So, you know, yeah, that's what I would say about that.
So you were the player that had the Q collar on. Can you
Yep.
explain what the Q collar was and what it helped with?
Yeah. So the Q collar was given to me, and I was told this is going to help with your concussions. And so the science side is that it pushes the blood that comes down with your adrenaline while you play. It keeps the blood in my brain, or in my head. So if I do hit the floor, if I do get elbowed, if I whiplash, whatever happens, my brain, instead of hitting on the hard skull, bouncing around, will now be it's kind of just sitting in liquid, all that all the blood and stuff. So, and it did help. The Q collar was, I think the Q collar people to this day, it was an amazing device. Used, I use it still when I went overseas. I want, it did wonders for me, and I love seeing football players, basketball players, soccer
Mhm.
players on TV wearing them, and knowing like, okay, I wasn't the only one out there.
So wasn't you the first one, wasn't you?
I think so. I think there was
Okay.
only one other football player out there wearing them at the same time I was, but I do think I was the first.
Oh yeah, go ahead. We're gonna claim
Yeah.
it. We're gonna claim it.
Yeah.
And so, just for the people out there, from what my research, imagine a woodpecker or a ram. There's the same effects of that as the constant beating, so it just helps
Yeah.
the brain a little bit. And just rounding off, what was if you could describe your just Texas career, your Texas lifestyle, your time in 40 acres for the people out there, like me, who is a huge Longhorn fan, what was that like?
Indescribable, truly. It was, a home away from home. I spent I spent 3 years on the dorm on campus. It was I loved I loved the campus, the trees, the way it was built. Like it was just beautiful all the way around. I loved our Irwin Center. I loved the
Hmm.
walk to it. the people on campus. You would see fans on campus sometimes. It was just, it was like just one big family there, truly. That's what Austin was. And it was weird. Like, keep Austin weird. That was real. It was that was different from where I was from. I had a lot of unique kind of people out there.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed seeing that every day. Um, we had the girls I played with were amazing. The time I spent, all the, coaches came. I knew coach almost every year, which was an
Hmm.
adjustment for me as well
Hmm.
throughout my college career. But I loved each and every one of them. I think I learned something from all of them, and all the girls that came through. It was such a joy playing with them, and still getting to talk to them, and having Joanne from my freshman to senior year was really fun because we came in with five, and she was my only one left in that group, so that was fun, and you know it was an incredible time, and I loved my 4 years there. So I'm glad
No,
to
that's
be
right.
a Texas alum.
And you was part of that last group that really brought
Mhm.
Texas back. Where do you see Texas growing from where you left it? And is there anybody on the team that reminds you of yourself?
I mean, they're doing amazing things. I mean, Coach Schaefer is doing amazing things with them right now. They are growing. Rory is leading the team.
Hmm.
I love watching them play and seeing all the grit and all that they just bring to the court every single game. Because I know, him having him as a coach for years, I know what he's looking for, and so seeing them bring that out there is awesome. Like I can see, okay, I know you guys are implementing what this man is telling you, and that's good because he's a winner. So you listen to him. As it reminds me of me, I loved when I know she's not there right now, but Shay Holly, like when she was
Hmm.
there, everybody kind of we kind of got grouped together a lot. She was just so much faster than me. I mean, I tried my best, but I could not keep up. But we always guarded each other a lot because we were just those two players that you got to put on each other because if you put someone else on us, they're going to lose us because we don't stop moving. So you
Yeah.
put two people that don't stop moving on each other, it kind of keeps them in balance. So, I enjoyed playing with her for a couple years and having her in practice with me because she
I
kept me
know.
right and I kept her right, so that was fun. She
I
she
know.
reminded me a little of me.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So then after the 40 acres, it's that unfortunate time that all you athletes have to endure. It's time to
Mm-hmm.
leave. I know you don't want to. You're not saying it. I'll say it for her. She didn't want to leave. Then you end up transferring to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
What was that recruiting process like it was how was different from was it from high school to then graduating as a senior?
Yeah, it was very different. In high school, you're kind of a hot commodity almost. You get a lot of coaches calling you, and when you transfer through college, it's almost the same, but it's harder now because you're against girls that could be a couple years older than you, whereas and have more experience or from a different school or from a different school that fits the school they're trying to go to work. It just there's a lot more things to implement when you're already in college, and now you have all this film out on you from what you did against other college players that or other college teams that they might play. Now they can see it like, oh, you don't fit our system, so we don't need you. So it's a little more stressful, I would say, because there's no like certain idea that you're going to get a call or a text or an email or anything from a coach. So that was a little stressful. I was lucky enough to get a few, and one of those being the staff from Georgia, which I had known them for a long time, and they recruited me throughout high school, and one of the people on their staff was my second grade teacher. And one of my dreams was to always, kind of, meet up with her again and get to be with her. And I, I liked their staff, Coach Keish. She taught me a lot. I'm really thankful to have had her for my position coach at Georgia and
Mm.
learned so much from her. And that staff was just, they just cared so much about each and every player. They were so nice to us, and they just really cared about not us only being athletes, but just our womanhood. And at that time in my life, that was just something I really needed. And so I was just really drawn to them. And they made my last year, a different ride. I was playing a different role. That was a little, that was hard adjusting now from someone who's more of a role player and, setting screens for a player to now, I got to shoot the ball. I got to go score. So that was tough for me trying to adjust. But they had so much confidence in me, which made it so much easier. And then, I'll forever thank Georgia because, it gave me my best friend. And that was the best thing I could take away from there for sure.
Golly, Georgia. Well, I could have got. I wish I could have got you for another year, but I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad. You got to do what you got to do. I ain't mad at it. So you have a magical year or a great good year at Georgia. What do you remember most about that time down there in Georgia?
The change of environment. I went from being in Austin, which was at least only a couple hours from my dad and some of my siblings, to now being in Athens, Georgia, where it takes an hour from the airport to get to me. So it was just I didn't see my family as much. They couldn't make as much trips just because it was just wasn't as convenient as Austin was.
Hmm.
So that was a hard adjustment. But I had, like I said, I had my best friend. If it weren't for Brittany, it would have been a hard year for me, and it would have been tough to get through without seeing my family so much. But um, yeah, she was a little praise from me right there.
So, after that, after your totality of your basketball career, as far as college and stuff like that, you didn't decide to go overseas. What was the decision to do that? Because I know there's a lot of other options that could to go on. There could be
Yeah.
coaching aspect, could be playing overseas. What made that the decision?
I think from about high school when I truly learned about overseas and like the opportunities I had to go play overseas is when I got really interested because I mean, who doesn't want to go travel to another country for free and play a sport? And that's all you have to do. Like, it's not like going to college anymore where I'm going to another state possibly to attend school and play basketball. Like now I'm just going to a country for free and play basketball. Like that sounds amazing. So, I started looking into it. The agent process was a little hard for me. It was just kind of one of those things where if you weren't comfortable with, asking people a lot of questions and demanding things, it was a little different. So once I got over that and found a good, an agent and got to go to Portugal, and that was amazing. I wasn't really expecting much of my rookie year, of course. I was going to downplay it and because these are grown women. Like college, you stop at around a certain age, but these are grown people could be in their 40s, but playing you. So I was very nervous, but I loved my rookie year. It was so much fun. I got we ended up getting second place, but I was MVP of the whole league, and on the import team. So I got so many accolades just from my rookie year already, and that was amazing. I wasn't expecting it. It put a little fire in me, helped me build my confidence a little more, and I was playing like my old self. I think like I used to in high school, where I was just out there kind of having so much fun and not worrying about other things too much. I was just out there hooping.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was gonna ask about that MVP. I was gonna ask
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, you beat me to it. What was that? What was it fine like getting that MVP? Like you said, it was the hard work when you won Player of the
Yeah.
Year in high school. You said it was
Mhm.
it was just fun getting into that role when you won Big 12 Freshman of the Week. This one is an MVP of a whole league now. What was that like? The
Yeah,
difference between those other two.
shout out to my Morocco team for sure. That was an unbelievable experience of one just winning first place. Like I came in there late, so that was hard adjusting to the girls. I didn't know if they were gonna really cater to me or care for me at all, and even want to give me the ball. Like, oh, she's kind of she's like she came late. She didn't really care, but I gave my all to that team as much as I could, and I got to work with some amazing girls and play with them, and I even got to help and train a couple, which was really fun. The coach was so sweet. He instilled so much faith in me and told me, you get the ball and you go. And I wasn't so used to scoring that much at the beginning. I was very timid again coming to a new team. I just wanted to fit in, find my role, and my role was to go score the ball. And they told me that all the time. Go get 40, go get 100. So that was really fun. And so, let alone winning first place, but them announcing that I was MVP a week or so later, that was just it was the icing on the cake. Really, all my hard work just paying off. um, I try to keep myself as humble as possible, and I still do. But that was one of those moments where it's like, yeah, like I went out there and worked for this, and I felt that I deserved this, and it was good to feel that way, not that. So
I know
yeah,
that's right.
that was a great experience, though.
So, what would you say that biggest difference between not just I know Portugal has its own culture, but Europe as
Mhm.
a whole, you're able to
Yeah.
travel a lot easier than you are,
Yeah.
traveling from uh Canada to Mexico to United States and all in between. What was the biggest differences you noticed in the lifestyle change?
Oh, and the lifestyle change. Well, from here and overseas in general, I'd never thought I'd miss an appliance so much, but I missed the dryer. Like, I
Wait, they don't
would.
have dryers?
No, I mean, unless your house might come with it, or if you go buy one yourself. But most houses there, they hang dry all their clothes. So that was an adjustment I made, and it was not my favorite adjustment. Ice as well. I never miss ice from a convenience store or something.
Right.
So those were my two biggest adjustments. But lifestyle wise, it was really a lot more the food. I would say a lot of a lot more pastries and such in Europe, and
Mhm.
then a lot more just like the plates from Morocco were so good. Like, I wish I could name what I ate, but I'm sure I would butcher the names.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that was the biggest difference, was the food.
Where are you currently now?
Currently, I'm in Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm taking a break from basketball, and I'm coaching with my dad in Lawton for the girls. So
Yeah,
I know.
it's funny because we're gonna get to the next topic. Now listen, listen, listen. In this next topic, there's something I like to do is I like to ask 3 to 5 questions that I've seen online. I'm gonna go
Okay.
ahead and skip to my third question because I didn't like what you just said. I seen a quote from you saying, I can't lose to Oklahoma again this year. Talk to me about the hatred for Oklahoma and why are you there?
I wouldn't so much. I mean, it's definitely hatred for Oklahoma, but that hatred more came when I got to Texas. That
Mhm.
was a deep rooted Texas OU hatred. Now, I know from my Texas career and interviews and talks, and they get to know Audrey Warren. A lot of people know that my mom and her side of the family are deep rooted in OU, deep rooted in OU. All the way down to my great grandparents giving the Boomer Schooner to the university, the first ones. So I grew up wearing OU cheerleading uniforms for Halloween. Oh, we went to OU games. I was diehard OU. We had the tradition where if you're sitting down and they score, you're not allowed to stand up. Like, it was OU, 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 OU all the way up until it was time for me to commit. And
You know what
when
time
that
it was.
type,
I mean, no disrespect to your family. I promise you, I don't. But when you knew better, you do better. You knew where to go.
yeah. And I actually kept it from. I wanted the announcement to be a surprise from my mom. So not my mom did not even know I was about to commit to the most hated school
Hmm.
in my family. And so when that burnt orange hit the screen, of course they were so excited for me, and they shout
Hmm.
out to my mom's side of the family. They repped UT burnt orange hard for 4 years. So, they did what they could. They put it aside for the years I was there, but only for women's basketball. Sorry to say, they did not switch for OU football. They did not switch for OU softball or anything else. They are deep rooted. And now, I gave my mom so many sweatsuits throughout my career, and she's like, I don't need them anymore. I will never wear these again because I'm
She
not
better.
there. So yeah, it was. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard betraying them, but
Yeah.
they loved it. So,
Yeah, and everybody knows I'm just messing with it. I don't mean no
yeah,
disrespect towards actual Oklahoma people. It's just
yeah,
friendly rivalry type of thing.
yes.
And one other question: Can you still recite High School Musical songs?
Of course. I was actually singing on to one of my high school players the other day, and she was like, "What is this?" And I just full blasted it, and I started singing. I was like, "I'll let you know what it is." Yes, I can. I know I can. I can also quote probably every SpongeBob line now too. I've been rewatching those as well, so I'm back to SpongeBob quite a bit.
I know that's right. I know that's right. I
Yeah.
love, as you can see, SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob myself.
Yes.
And well, forget my second question. My question now is, what is it? What is it about coaching right now for you?
What is what?
You said you're coaching now in Oklahoma?
Yes, I am at Lawton High School with
Okay, and how's that going for you? And you know, going from coaching, I mean, going from
yeah.
playing the high level to now coaching. How is that?
It's different. Definitely from playing to coaching, it's much different. But I've been doing individual and group trainings for a couple of years, so that definitely helped me transition a little easier to coaching a whole team.
Hmm.
The other two coaches that I coach with are both with football right now, so their focus has in their primary is football, and I respect that, it's football season. So I've been by myself for a little while, and I've had a good time getting to know the girls, coach them by myself, create that relationship between them, and I'm just having a good time. Like, from it's only been a couple weeks, and just watching them grow from maybe not even being able to dribble with your right hand to doing a crossover, like something as simple as seeing anyone grow from that is just amazing to me. And sometimes it makes me tear up, and I'm just so emotional with them. And but I have enjoyed it, and I can't wait to keep playing. And it's finally basketball season, and
Hmm.
it's fall break, and we saw practice, and it just brings back like the good times and hearing them complain. And I'm like, man, I remember when I complained, and it's fun getting to show them like everything you're going through. Like, I promise, I have gone through, and so I've enjoyed it so much, and I'm going to continue to do it as far as I can.
I know that's right. And we
Yeah.
have to check up on you at the end of the season for sure. I definitely
Yes,
got to. But
please.
I really have two more things for you. It's been a great, fantastic interview. My first Longhorn. I'm so excited. I better contain myself. Um, if you could right now, let's just time travel a little bit. We're gonna go back to that girl who broke her wrist,
Mhm.
who's in the yard playing with her siblings, got to bubble wrap that thing. What would you go
Mhm.
back and say to that girl?
Keep doing what you're doing. Like, what you feel right now for the sport that you're playing, that passion and that love that you feel, like that's not going to go away. That's what you need to keep. Forget everything else. As long as you have passion and you love this game, that's all you need. And so I would tell her, keep doing what you're doing. It's going to pay off. Because back then she did not. She's like, oh, screw this, I'm done.
I,
It's gonna get hard, and I would say just keep going.
I love that. I love that. And the last thing I have for you is I need a Audrey Warren quote.
Oh God, um, oh jeez.
This could be your favorite quote you say to your players now. It could be your quote
Okay,
that you say to yourself at night, stuff like that.
I would say this. I said this to a lot to myself in college because it rang true for me, and it rings true for anybody. But it does not matter how hard you get hit and lay on that floor. It's about getting up and what you respond to and how you respond to it. So.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And is there anybody you want to shout out before this interview ends?
Yes, I will shout out. all my family, but I'll specifically shout out my dad and my mom for everything they've done. Because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be sitting here for sure. And then Chastity, Naomi, Trey, Sid, and Braxton. You guys are everything to me, and I love y'all to the deepest.
I know that's right. This has been another fantastic, fantastic interview. Episode 20, my first Longhorn. You guys can see it. I'm truly excited. This is somebody I watched personally. I watched their game. She didn't play much because we blew out TCU when I did go and watch them. But this has been a fantastic interview, and I look forward to catching up with you, and hopefully we can have you on soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.